Well, this is a reading from my book that I wrote this year, um, Religious and Philosophical Topics. Human Logic in Relation to God. It's essay number 58. God precedes logic and thought about it. Logic is a method of thinking, perhaps implicit naturally in human ratiocination, that can be improved. Athletic ability is natural, too, but can also improve much with training. I cannot remember how many times I have sought to move something or accomplish some difficult physical action with no luck, then thought of God and asked for His help to let it happen, and tried it again with success. If God is the pervasive fact of the universe, then letting His will be done is often a more effective way of getting one's own will done. Some wonder if the universe is a continuum or made of individual parts. How those individual parts act together in strings or membranes, or alternately how the continuum differentiates into individual things, are perennial philosophical questions. What relation could God have directly to mankind in any sort of continuum? Is God knowable directly? Many theologians have believed not. Haze casts thought through a mystical experience, believed they could encounter the light of God, while others said that to be an heretical opinion. Apophatic theology is a negative theology. It describes God a little by saying what He is not. He is not limited to the temporal. He is not limited to small or large size or any dimension at all. God exceeds human logic and reasoning capability, yet paradoxically created them. Human beingness and its locale of reason occur within a unified field of material force analogous to a fish being immersed in water. The life in a space-time continuum of uncertain composition and dimension is radically changing, eroding, and in inertial reference frames with intervals of being and nothingness. Human logic must configure scenarios of spirit and possibilities for a temporal permanence from within this criterion of evolving time and permutating space-time relations. Human reasoning and logic must necessarily contemplate a phenomenal termination of the continuum of personal logical thought and physical existence, mortality, that seems the paradigm of interval ubiquitous in the nature of things within its own self-aware life. God is considered to be the emanator of the order and form of the phenomena of space-time, and His logic pre-exists, sustains, and follows the temporal manifestation or actualization of the universe from time equals zero to time equal omega. Watching the Discovery Channel show on the black holes at the center of galaxies gave me the idea that perhaps after the Big Bang and the pre-Big Bang series and inflation of the universe, some of the matter that did go into black holes converted into anti-gravity, and such that after 7 billion years, the anti-gravity was accountable for drawing the universe acceleration out, so that space-time would accelerate faster. And it's interesting, the extra-dimensional and atemporal nature of God and His ability to shape and predestine the universe. Einstein's general theory of relativity provides criteria in the standard model of physics that indicate that the universe should be either static or shrinking in size. It should have with positive space-time curvature, it shouldn't continue to expand. So he invented a cosmological constant for that. And that cosmological constant, the location of anti-gravity, the effect of all that could just be anti-gravity through black holes drawing it. And so perhaps his criteria for the shape of the universe actually are right, in a sense, kind of inadvertently. I have about 3 more minutes to go, so I'll have to keep reading this. Heraclitus said that you can never step in the same river twice. The water would flow and is made of individual parts and thus different each moment, yet the categorical error of naming what a river is the problem. Human DNA has flowed since the beginning of its existence and changed external forms quite a bit in its representation of individuals. Those individuals have thought now and then. One might ask what relationship one has in thinking anything to what Julius Caesar thought as a living individual or to that of any other living person. What is the significance of thought? Maybe a more basic question. Does it mean anything? And if it does, is it meaningful to God necessarily or to no one at all? It seems that the alternative opinion to thought from the human stream of DNA manifested as complete human beings being meaningful might be that of thought as meaningful solely to narrow self-existence and social associations and self. One could, in a sense, individualize the inquiry of human thought or human thought using logical thinking from being meaningful to God to such an extent that the meaning is extirpated or extinct. The aesthetic sort of regard given to language and phenomenal forms of reason by some contemporary opinion such that it couldn't have any kind of transcendent or Platonic meaning or function is a logical ancillary point of the deconstructionist drift into atheism for fashion purposes. I'm not sure at all that one could interest God much with human demonstrations of modal logic or some sort of symbolic logic proofs. He is probably above and beyond all that and would consider it not so hot. God may be interested, however, in proofs of human sentience or just relationships with sentient human beings. Before I read a little bit about Kant and Kantian categories a priori and a posteriori, I should say that I have finally begun reading Kripke's book, Saul Kripke's Naming and Necessity, and that's interesting, for he adumbrates some extra ideas about the a priori and necessity, its relationship to necessity, and the a posteriori, and finds different locations for those categories anyway, in a sense, which I tend to agree with. It's quite useful, interesting. Human thought may debatably be improved through logic, yet knowledge is developed within the Kantian categories of mind given by the universe. This predetermined element comprises an a priori object potential that human subjective powers consider in and can contemplate about. Humanity sees through a glass darkly, knowing just in part. God, as the perfect, omnipotent being, has no element of uncertainty or doubt. Those are categories found in the temporal and in the physical cosmos as basic construction in order to permit change to exist, including space-time. Aristotle and Aquinas, Freud, Strawson, and Quine contributed significantly to logic, yet God is one. All ideas and forms, content, and being are contingent upon emanations from the one. The Son and the Spirit are of the one, as being for others as well as being for themselves in one. Human logic is an effort to reconcile and categorize words and objects accurately. It helps ordering and increasing knowledge. Alternatively, God is omniscient and has all knowledge a priori. The universe, in a sense, is an a priori manifestation of God. Although, yet again, I like Kripke's ideas about the a priori and the a posteriori. Plotinus speculated that even thought is necessary for the one, perfection of logic, in contingence. That was it. I'm out of time. And thanks.